thank you so much, Gertrude, again. Aki, this is very random, I know.
It's okay. You know, these things, sometimes they have to happen in this random way for them to make sense. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about just, in your time as you go up, because, you have a very interesting perspective where you've been working in senior positions, not just, within the local NGO space, but even interfacing with your international colleagues,
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, I was like, let me pick your brains on what that experience has been with regards to just collecting stories, taking photos, and for what reason, even in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see if we can contribute to the whole idea of how do we change. What are some of the things folks, especially in the international community, should consider, when they are collecting, when they're going about doing their external communications. Yeah. So maybe let me start by asking the very basic one. Why and how do you collect stories?
Yeah, we do collect stories for different purposes. First of all, it's for accountability. Of course, to see, to visualize the impact. But also, I think alongside that, to celebrate the impact.
I like that.
Yeah, so, and then there is another aspect of marketing, which is the most common one, of course. Marketing and fundraising. I think those are the major kind of reasons why we take pictures. Yeah.
And where do you fundraise from the most? Are you doing domestic in Malawi, or is it mostly international?
We've just started domestic, and we've just started tapping from the private sector. Like right now, Standard National Bank has given us some funding, about 100 million.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, but our aim is to continue to sort of also look at other funding agencies, like you said, and other donor agencies. However, we are also very awake to the philosophies in those agencies that can clash with our own philosophies, the philosophies what we're trying to advance around decolonization, around this is. So we are trying to make sure that we tread carefully. I don't know what that means in practice, but in theory.
Tell me what you're most concerned about.
I have dealt with them through other organizations.
Okay.
Like how fixated they are in terms of like their approaches. It's like the water, and they are the container. You have to fit in their container. And there are also rules, like you don't have to overflow. Because you have to play, what I'm trying to say is you have to follow a certain pattern of doing business. And half the time we have ever talked about these issues in our other spaces about how they're not advancing our agenda. But what that means in terms of like real conversations, that has not been fleshed out, because most of the people who should have otherwise been frontliners in terms of like challenging, that are the very same people that are like being funded by the very same institutions. So it's a simple principle. You don't bite the finger that feeds you. Yeah. So, but for me personally, that's one of the things that I have tried to resist, to work with USAID, UN, even with Age Africa. I kind of resisted that, and even with Yamba Malaw. But money is money, so you have to begin to sort of get closer and survive somehow.
I feel you completely. Yeah. I know this very intimately. And do you think like that also plays out even when it comes to your communications, like that influences your communication as a result? Like you have to communicate to them in the way that they would like, or do you feel like you have some freedom?
I There's no freedom.
Ah.
When you have that kind of money and in that kind of system, everything else must point north. Yeah, everything else must point north. So you can't, because you can't have some things pointing east, pointing south, when you know that this is the instructions are like let it stand like this,
Yeah.
So it influences everything from point A to point exit. The way you design your programs, the way you implement them, the delivery, the approaches. Sometimes the approaches are also prescribed. The concepts that we are matching with, even these poverty graduation things, come to think of it, whose idea is it?
Yeah.
Since when have we started going to school and graduating from poverty?
Isn't that funny though?
Yes. Who to graduate who from who? Okay, I'm just trying to conceptualize.
Yeah.
Because for me, I always liken poverty graduation as for a school. So if it's a school, there is no way somebody can come outside and graduate you. You have to graduate yourself. At least the graduates that I know have graduated themselves because they've gone themselves to school, they've studied, then they have understood, and then they have graduated. But the frameworks that are used in these graduation programs, definitely, they are not self-driven kind of frameworks. So in the end, that's why they don't graduate.
That's true.
Because you don't graduate people. People have to graduate themselves.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So, and now, because you were doing some communications back in the previously, until now, you were doing most of your communications was to seek support externally, and now you're doing it internally. Have you had to make any change? Do you see any changes? Is there any difference when you're doing your communications for outside and your communications for internal sources?
I think I would say it's the same, because it's the same framework at play. It doesn't matter, because they're whites. These structures are driven by white people. Whether they're in Malawi, they're driven by white people. Whether they are in whatever place they are, they're driven. It's the mentality, the behavior, the expectation, that is enshrined in the principles and values of somebody who thinks a certain way.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter where they are in country or they are outside Malawi, unless if our countries had measures of controlling or managing the in-country structures. But that doesn't happen. I don't know about Kenya, but in Malawi that doesn't happen because of so many factors.
Yeah, the geopolitics between the two countries come to play, right?
Exactly.
So you find even your own governments don't defend you, because to your earlier point, they're also looking for the same money that you're looking for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the communication, really, I wouldn't say in any way it's different.
Even with the corporates?
The corporates, the corporates somehow they also are driven by the same colonial frameworks. They're sometimes they're even the West.
That's true.
Honestly, because what they want is more of visibility.
Yeah.
For them, and they don't care what goes behind. They don't care. There was a time we had funding from, when I worked for Age Africa, we had a funding from TNM. They never, not even once, not even one day, did they ever come to visit and meet the children they were sponsoring. None of the people that from that corporate, TNM is a telephone company. They sponsored girls for 4 years, but not even a single time did they ever come to visit just to see how these girls were doing. All they cared about was when the day that you have that dummy representation of their funding every year, they would organize the best media houses. They will organize the best function, and they will make a fuss about it, and it will just be in the news, blah blah. It's like they're throwing it at you somehow. Again, it's about just being visible. It's about just being fundraising and marketing or whatever purposes they have behind it. So it's the same frameworks.
Yeah.
You know, the corporate, in as much as we concentrate on the NGO, we are all operating in the same frameworks. The policies, the taxes, the tax systems, the what, everything is influenced by the white man's frameworks of thinking.
That's true, unfortunately. It's more even despite all the conversations we've had in the recent years, you know?
Yeah.
It's slow to change.
About these things. We kind of get to a point where we are emotionally charged. It's like that dog that, you know, every time he sees a car pass by, they'll bark, they'll chase the car, But everybody knows, first of all, you're not going to get into that car to ride with the car. Secondly, you know definitely you're just wasting your energy chasing a car that is driven by an engine and stuff and whatever. So for some distance, the dog comes back and just comes to reality to say, I'm done. You know?
I've barked. Let me go back and wait for the next car.
Yes, and they will do the same thing, and we do the same thing over the years. Maybe our parents did that. We have done that in our generation. Our younger generation are still backing the same cars that are passing by.
That's so true. Unfortunately, it's like I was speaking to somebody recently. We're trying to think about equality in partnerships between NGOs and local NGOs, and this gentleman has been working in this space for 60 years. And he told me, Chilande, the pace of development, of changes that I have seen over time. And right now, if I look at things, I'll tell you, we're not going to get those things we are advocating for, not in my lifetime, not in your lifetime. And I said, that sounds so bleak.
In fact, I just also believe that there was a time we could see the progress and we could get excited and we would be hopeful. But now I think we are like in Malawi, maybe elsewhere I wouldn't want to, talk about something that I don't know. But in Malawi, the way I feel like we are going backwards, like we're going backwards instead of like progress in terms of like what the things that we were building. It doesn't give me hope because the very things that we sort of stood for are the very same things that the children that are now are not even seeing as pillars. They want to knock down those pillars and they think they need to erect their own pillars, and that's not the way we should be doing our investing our efforts. We need to teach these young people that we need to build on. We don't need to redo. We don't need to destroy already what has already started. So by doing that, you're obviously weakening the structure, the very structure that you're trying to strengthen.
Yeah, because then I was going to ask, like, over the years, have you seen some change? What are some of the things you've seen that have changed in a positive way with regards to how we tell our story as Africans, or how our story is portrayed out there? Have you seen any positive changes there?
I am not too sure. What I would say positive ways of storytelling. But what I noticed for sure is the packaging has changed.
Okay.
And since the advent of technology has also helped to sort of present the communication differently. Like, for instance, HD and, when it comes to videos and 3D. And so technology has just enhanced the presentation and the packaging. But in terms of like presentation from the equity point of view, I don't think anything has changed. I still see pictures of children who have very dirty clothes and mucus on their noses and flies on their noses, and we still continue to circulate those kinds of pictures where, like, for instance, I'll mention Yamba Malaw. We started working in 2006. If we started working in 2006 and we're working in these communities, don't we want to portray children who are decent? Why can't we speak this? Why can't we share the story from the positive side?
Yeah.
Instead of showing from the sympathetic side? Because, what we don't know is behavior also changes over a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Because people maybe are fed up of just seeing these pathetic, pictures. Maybe let's start telling the story from the positive side. Like, for instance, share pictures of children who are dressed well, not too well, but I mean, like at village standard, putting on nice clothes, decent clothes, clean clothes, and they're eating their meal, enjoying a meal maybe somewhere, and you can say, we've made a difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah? We've made a difference, and we would like to invite people to join us to continue making this difference. But every other picture you see, there is some misery that is portrayed there. There is some dehumanization of some sort I don't like. So that, in my view, even for me, like when I joined Yamba Malaw, I kept on telling my colleague, the programs director I work with, I said, please, if you go out there and if you have a US team taking pictures, please don't take pictures of children who have dirty clothes, what were looking very miserable. If there's going to be a session, a photo shoot or whatever, please make sure that you are sensitizing the households that they must dress up nicely, decently, and they must wash up their clothes. They should be looking clean. Yeah? I don't want to betray. I'm done seeing these pictures of people portraying our misery and people making a lot of money out of it. Because I know when that money is made, the big chunk goes to them and the smaller chunk comes to us. So in whose interest are these pictures being shown? First of all, in a bad way. Secondly, as if that's not enough, then even the money that's generated does not even come straight to those children to sort of change their story, like completely.
No.
There's just so little that goes to them. So, no, we're not going to do that. We have to tell the story from the positivity because, there's a lot of, now the world has a lot of negativity. Why can't we begin to sort of shift by also shifting our mindset, shift by also shifting the way we present ourselves in all spaces, including the development sector space, where we have for so long ridden on the misery of others. Can we not now begin to celebrate the gains and tell the story from the positive perspectives and still fundraise, but from the positive perspective?
And I like something that you just made reference to, the village standard, because the village standard in 2022 is not the village standard of the 1950s.
Exactly.
But for some reason, we haven't adapted.
We haven't.
We haven't adapted.
We haven't at all. I mean, we are a people who want to hoard. We are the ones holding the communities at ransom.
True.
We are the ones who are also slowing down their progress because we don't want them to be too fast for us because lest we lose our jobs. So we are slowing them down for our own interest. And as such, even the pictures that we are taking are not representing the villages now. They are representing the villages that were, majority of the people that we are portraying were at that point in time. Now, when I go to the village, like my own village, I find people have changed. First of all, there's the electricity and there are children who are like this. Their parents are buying them nice, decent clothes. Sometimes some of them even wearing nicer things than those that are in town, things like those. But why are we then not representing that? Why are we not wanting to sort of highlight that?
And why do you think, Gertrude? Because when you're saying we are the ones portraying that way, do you mean we, us, the Africans who are working here? Or do you mean the international folks that are coming in to take some of these stories and
Of
photos?
course, the international folks
Okay.
who are coming to tell this story, but we have also been brainwashed. People who have worked in the development sector, like for some of us who have been in the sector for a long time,
Yeah.
I think we also have some handicaps that have been created by the space that we are working in. We feel, we behave, and we also think a certain way. I think it's a box that has been created that we were operating in, and very few people want to jump or get out of that box. As I said, because of the money issues, you're like thinking, oh, if I begin to make noise, I'll be fired, and then I will not come back, and I will not have this job, and I better just comply. And because of that, some of these things have become truths that we keep on spinning ourselves, and we believe in them now.
That's so true. It's like
even when we didn't believe them then.
Even the end, yes, absolutely. And because right now there's a campaign going on in Kenya, there's with this climate change, disasters, we have one of the worst in Northeast Kenya. And I am seeing so many appeals. It's 2022. I'm seeing appeals coming in my WhatsApp in my WhatsApp messages and all of the same old emaciated people. And in fact, there are some that are going viral of a very dusty, emaciated, this extremely miserable, famine-stricken person. And then right next to it, they've also put a photo of a dying warthog as well, to show that both our wildlife and our people are dying. And I said, who's doing this? I actually wrote to those people and said, tell me who sent this, please. Can I talk to this person? I don't understand why this is necessary,
Exactly. So these are things that we need to, as we are also decolonizing the space, maybe we can have sessions. I think we need to have sessions, like, for instance, a workshop for communications persons, and have these kinds of conversations to say, especially those that are working from, those that are African, that are facilitating the processes.
Yeah.
We should be asking these soul-searching questions to say, what are we doing?
Exactly.
We should be held accountable for even the damage that we are creating through the lens. Because through the lens, like taking pictures, capturing things, we are also further destroying the very communities that we are trying to, in quotes, we say we want to save. Yeah. Because, one day, a picture of that child will find its way to the child, or to the community, or to somebody, or whatever. Yeah. And so you actually feel like this is us. No, this is not us. We must show these kids that there is us is different now.
Yeah.
Us must be different. I remember my niece. She's alumni for the African Leadership Academy.
Fantastic! Congratulations.
Yeah, so she's alumni. She went there some time back.
Okay. Okay.
While she was there, her and her friends came up with a project. Her friends from different countries. So they said, we want to tell the story of the African child, but in a very different, showing them that there is a different life for an African child. So there's a character that they created in that book. They wrote a book. It's a book project. The character, she started writing that book in Malawi. So the character is like a child who is living with her parents. Then her parents get to go work outside in country B, where they're on a mission, like the way we do, like NGO sector or whatever, going to another country to work and do. So, but they're highlighting things that are in this country, but from the child that is different from the child that is being portrayed all the time about Africa. So the idea was that the next person, where these parents go, like for instance, if say went to Kenya. So it meant that the Kenyan colleague would write now stories about the Kenyan children, but in the context of highlighting the positive things about Kenya, about Kenyan children. And then the next is they're going to create another, link it to another country. However, they were going to link it, I don't know. Then that they were going to portray children, like the positive things about children in that country, so that people get to know and understand all the other different things about the African children. But it's we have been destroyed by the lens, because the lens is the one that people have used as a weapon to fundraise, and it has been also, for me, it's a weapon that has been used to destroy and also create, the darkness, the dark side of Africa.
Absolutely. And that's so true, because sometimes they say that picture is worth a thousand words, but sometimes it's not. And I think about, because I was born in the village and, early years, and I'm thinking those early days, your parents would put you in dirty clothes when you come from school, because you know what, I'm not going to clean. I'm not going to wash your dirty clothes. So if a person just showed up when we were playing outside, of course I'm dirty and my clothes are torn, because you had your clothes for playing, and then you had, the common terminology of the Sunday best, right?
Yes, Sunday best, yes.
You would always have the Sunday best, but those ones were for playing. So of course they are tattered. So if somebody takes a photograph of that, it doesn't tell the story, And so the project that you're mentioning chances are would tell the story. Because when visitors are coming, or when you're going out, you're going to church or you're going to visit, you dress up. You because we could, right? Our story was not that dry, emaciated, torn clothed child. It really wasn't. But that was what was portrayed for, as you say, to chase the money. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's still, that unfortunate thing is still being told today. So the question, and surprisingly, even the world where these pictures are taken, nobody is asking the difficult questions.
No.
To say, guys, you mean all these years we can't find children that are better than this?
Imagine.
You can't bring pictures of people that are different than this. We want children that are like celebrating, they are happy, so that we know that the money that we gave 50 years ago
has done something,
made a difference. So now we want those children. We want at least something to do with those children, or something to do with that money somewhere, that it created some positivity somewhere. So we want now to hear those stories, so that then we should continue to give. If I was in that world, I would ask those kinds of questions.
Oh, we are hoping that very soon you'll be the one signing the checks, Gertrude. So, so you can start asking those questions. So if I come...
signing the checks from where now?
From your own pocket or your own small community. You can be a funder, Gertrude.
I want to be. I know you, but it's like you've read my mind. I told, Wendo, yeah?
Yes.
We used to meet quite a lot. What's the name? Siga does.
Yeah.
When you're having workshops, the early days, I don't know about now, they would spare you in rooms and you'd end up with your roommate and stuff.
Yeah.
So I ended up with Wendo and we clicked and we've been friends ever since. So awesome. One time she was telling me that, Gertrude, I want to get to a point where I don't want money from these white people anymore. Because that's the only way, and the only way where you can say, I can't do this. And because as long as the money is coming from them, trust me, it's going to be the way they want it to happen.
Yeah.
Then she kept on pushing. She said, you go back and do something. You go back. For her, she said, I'm building up stuff. I've built a maternity wing. Of course, it's a social enterprise, but it's going to be generating money. Anyway, there will be a point where I'll stop worrying about these people's monies anyways, because I just want to get away from there.
Imagine.
So I also started doing my own things. I started instituting my own, not social enterprises, but businesses that I want to generate enough money to support people in whatever circumstance. And I've started doing that, by the way.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, until that's part of how we flip the model, Gertrude. We have to start being self-sufficient and stop begging. Someone was calling us professional beggars recently.
Yeah.
That's the only way we start to take control of our narrative. The most powerful thing in this space of ours is money, right? So until
Yeah.
we can generate it, we'll always be dancing to their tune.
Exactly.
So I'm curious, Gertrude, what about if we look at some of our internal systems? And I just want a few examples, if I can, get from you any examples of either stories, words in your interaction with, especially the international community, words that are used that you find either discriminatory or racist. Do you have some examples?
Of course, there's always been the highlight of the beneficiary program, like the beneficiaries, words like what? I'm just trying to think.
Of course, capacity building.
Yeah, capacity building and empowerment. All those words, for me, I don't get excited with them because we have always thought these people do not have capacity. It's because we want them to do things that we want them to do. They have their own. Look here, these people have existed and they have more capacity than whoever we think. But it's just that capacity to do what is what we have not really gotten to sort of to appreciate. That's why, like for me, when I joined Yamba, I've told them, I said, I'm going to integrate indigenous knowledge in the programming. The work that we do, we integrate indigenous, because the argument I had when we were drawing up the curriculum for ECD, I was saying, look here, if my mother didn't know how to raise me, I would have been dead. The fact that you guys found me alive and I've grown, of course, maybe with gaps here and there, it should tell you that there are some things that are happening that are very well and excellent, and we must not lose them. We must make sure we're highlighting them. We must make sure that we are also harvesting them for the future. So that's the thing, like about the racism and it's also what other things like
somebody today was
like Atrapua. What does Atrapua? How do you layer the poverty?
Atrapua.
Like, okay, how do you get to categorizing poverty? For me, that also has I have problems with that because I'm always thinking, why is it that they want to get the choice of participants, the choice of people who are going to participate in a program. Why is it that they're always going for the ultra poor without the rightful diagnosis? Gertrude, why are you poor? They'll just go say, Gertrude is poor, let's help them. Honestly. And then they destabilize the whole community, because even for those people who are working hard, they get discouraged. So it means hard work is a sin, because when good things come in the village, like those programs that we have, nobody is going to select you for that program. You're not going to receive the $20 if it's a social protection program, the cash transfers, because you are already perceived as somebody who is well off. But you are well off because you were working hard. The others were going to drink their local beer and dancing and, merrymaking while you were busy in your garden. So why is it that then you come and you say, this is ultra poor, poor, and you're like, are you rewarding laziness? And
That's
in
so
the name of
true.
ultra poor, if you have to give money, don't you think you should be giving money to those who are working hard, so that you know that if they work harder, they can also even employ these ones that are lazy here, and they can begin to become, more useful in the community.
That is so true. That is so true, Gertrude. So many thoughts have just crossed my mind, and so many people and situations have just crossed my mind as you say that. I've never really thought of it in that very concise way. But that's actually very critical. And that's why we find them in their very vulnerable state and take photos of them. And
Yeah,
you know,
because we don't want, as I said, we trap them. We have been trapping people. We have been stopping people from being, progressing, because it's to our good. It's to our camera. Because if the camera finds you in a different state at a different time,
yeah,
it's going to tell a different story. So I must hold you. You must be you must be in a space where I can still control you, so that I can take pictures of you and I can continue telling your story, not my story, not their own story.
that's so true. That's why, for example, for a very long time, it was very difficult for us in Nairobi to upgrade the biggest slum ever, Kibera. Kibera has become, slum tourism. There are people who thrive. There's a whole economy around, monies coming into Kibera. It's been so many. It's a small little space within the whole of Nairobi. How is it we've been unable to
and then
yeah.
And then when they come, we're going to Kibera. They're making these nice pumps. We're going to buy.
Absolutely.
Kibera.
They are dying there. People come, they do their gap years in Kibera. They do, I don't know what. It's a whole economy in there, I tell you.
And they go and smoke weed there.
And there is a lot, some good weed there, I hear. So
even here there's good weed.
So I was being told, someone said something that I hadn't thought of. I was in a meeting just before we came into this. I was listening to a meeting and someone said one of the things that really antagonizes them is the concept of a field trip. They're like this story of people coming and saying they're going to the field. They're going to the field trip. What does that mean? There's no field.
Yeah, what? For me, a field is where you go and plow, where you go and
plant
your crop.
Or you go and play football.
Yeah, for me, it's where you're going to a field.
Yes,
is where you plant your maize field.
Yeah,
but a community is not supposed to be a field.
Yeah, so I laughed. I said, I've never thought about this. Like, that's the one thing that antagonizes you. Field trip. Like, I don't even know what field they're going to, because half the time we are sitting in an office anyway. Or you meet your community groups, in their small baraza.
And then there's the other way that I don't like is volunteer.
It has been abused. It
has been abused, but also I feel like it's a slavery, but in form of something. But why are you expecting people to work for nothing? But who gets the glory in the end? It's the organization.
Yeah.
And you have members of staff who are paid in that organization, and people who are in the communities are denied to be paid because this is your community. Okay. Somebody also has to challenge me. They can say, this is your country too. Doesn't matter where you're coming from. This is your country. You should be doing this job for free.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're paid to go and organize people to work and stay motivated without any income. Yet you go home and you have an income. That's true.
Exactly.
That's true. These are the things.
And then
which one?
And there will be times where you have the company cars which say you can't carry anybody else but members of staff. Yeah. And then, but when you are writing a proposal, you're saying we need cars, and those cars are branded in the name of the project that you are like. So now you go into a community, you are holding up a community meeting, and then on your way back, these people that you have invited are walking back to their houses. You just pass them by with throwing dust in their faces. Yeah, you can't carry them. But this is the money that came in their name, and you can't even carry them because the policy says you're not supposed to carry other people other than members of staff. Oh my God, it's just
Oh my God, Gertrude, don't get me started. These are the ills. These are the sins that we've been,
I confess,
committing.
I confess.
Me too. I know those days.
I think we should write a book, Confessions of Development Practitioner.
You know what, Gertrude? We really should, because I've been thinking about it a lot. and just feeling
Yeah.
guilty, even as I started to do a lot of this introspection. Which is why I
Yeah.
set up Warrande Advisory, because I felt like I had betrayed my people when they failed,
Exactly.
when we had our post-election violence. Where is the sustainability and resilience I've been building you for so long?
Exactly.
And the funder
Yes.
that I was creating you to respond to has departed with haste,
Yes.
because the country is now
Yes.
hostile.
Yes.
Oh my
Ah,
God, Gertrude.
oh my God.
It's so late in the day. Let me not keep you any longer.
Okay.
Oh, thank you so much, Gertrude, for this is amazing. This is exactly what I needed. I needed to find a veteran who can give me the real stories and real perceptions, and perspectives that are not sanitized, you know.
Yeah,
Thank-
no, anytime. These things are real, but what we have done is to sort of find different faces for them, to call them something different. But
yeah,
it's the evil that we have promoted, and
amazing.
and shamelessly so as Africans. That's why I'm saying we need that confessions of a development practitioner,
I think we
because we
really
really
should.
need to get to a point where we are saying, what have I done? Like, I walk around in the Malawian communities and I think about all the millions that I have channeled through the projects that I have worked in. And do I see the evidence of those millions? The answer is no. That's how I end my discussion tonight.
Thank you, Gertrude. Let me not add anything more to that.